You ready? All right, I'm Craig Rieger. I'm co-founder of Rieger Coaching and Consulting, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have Alvaro Erize.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Our guest today. Alvaro's the CEO of CINC, and we're going to learn a little bit more about CINC over the next 30 minutes. And I met Alvaro in New York City Inman earlier this year. And we ended up spending 3-4 hours talking about leads and the market and conversion. And
it's your fault. You got me going.
Yes, it was the highlight. It was a highlight of my entire Inman experience. And ironically, it wasn't even part of the event. It was just a group of some really smart people sitting and talking about leads and all things around it. So I'm absolutely thrilled that you joined us today. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
So why don't we start with, as the CEO of CINC, if our audience doesn't know, which I think is going to be a pretty small group, what is CINC?
What's CINC? Well, CINC is an integrated platform that is meant to enable scalable growth in teams, right? And what does that mean? We provide basically three things to keep it simple. We give you a website, a portal, right? An IDX website where people can search for homes, which is built for you. It has all the homes in the US, but they're not getting bombarded with other agents, right? So it's a better place for you to send your clients than Zillow or Redfin or any other that's going to be pushing other clients, other agents. And so we give you a top of the line website that can compete with Zillow, but is yours. And then what we give you is a CRM where all the leads that get generated by that site or by you can be managed, and you can reach out to them, and you can, like, it's a true contact. You're going to manage your contacts through the system. Now, the big difference with a traditional CRM is that a traditional CRM is, I always describe it as an alarm clock. You tell it, I want to wake up at 5 a.m. and it rings the bell at 5 a.m. right? Yeah. And you tell them this is a type A client that I should call once a week, and if you don't call them once a week, then it's going to remind you. That's great. Yeah. But the beauty of an integrated system between the website and the CRM is that the CRM is not doing what you told them, is telling you what the consumer wants. So if the consumers are logging in at 8 a.m., the CRM will tell you, hey, look, this is the best moment to call them. And if a consumer looked 5 times at the same house, CRM should tell you, look, you should inquire about this type of house because this is what they're looking for. So it's not just giving you back information that you gave it, it's actually taking the information that the client is giving you and turning it into something you can use.
Which is really amazing, because as agents, we're constantly like, who do I call? What do I say? Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I can wake up, and yeah, a CRM with the alarm clock tells me you had a reminder today to reach back out to Bob and Sue. Perfect. Like, that reminder is there for a reason.
Yeah, that's valuable.
Yeah, it's super valuable. And it's an underutilized tool. Unfortunately, our industry is setting that alarm clock. It just is. What I do, we are CINC customers, right? We do have a coaching company, but I've been a realtor for 26 years. I've got a real estate brokerage 100 yards down the street. We have 30 agents on CINC right now, and we use it every single day. And you're right, one of our favorite features is the ability to get out of bed. And number one, we can check that alarm clock, what to-dos and reminders are set. Yeah, in addition, the analytics of, hey, this couple was on and looked at this one particular home 5 times last night while you were asleep, Craig. Yeah. This group every single morning between 8 and 9 a.m. jumps on and happens to look at a search range in their general area. So it gives us, frankly, just tells us who to call.
And it provides also an AI solution that is actually doing some of that texting for you. Now, it's not replacing you, but if you need someone to tell them at 2 a.m., hey, look, if you're interested in this house, we can actually show it to you. That's something that doesn't require you to be awake. And then the third part that I didn't mention is also what CINC does is actually take your marketing budget and spend it in Google and Facebook to drive traffic to your website that will turn into leads, right? And the beauty of the integrated platform there is that because if you are hiring those things separately, none of the parts know what the others are doing. But What I love about CINC, and a lot of what we may talk here today, a lot of my information comes from the fact that I'm the one generating the leads, but I also know from what you guys tell us what closed and what didn't. So I can go back and refeed into my lead generation, not just by what's a cost per lead, but what's the cost per deal, right? How much is it costing you to actually close one deal?
Sure. And just as a general, right, it's obviously going to be different in different markets around the country based on price point ad spend. But in general, on a US basis, if somebody's a CINC client, how much is a typical lead costing?
Average for the country is $6, $6.50. It can be 13 if you're in San Diego, or it can be 2 if you're in Tennessee. But I think 6.5 is a good number, and a very cost efficient number.
And in general, we're expecting, if properly worked and followed up on over a period of time, and that period can go up to 3 years in many cases, we're expecting about a 1% conversion on this type of lead, a Google lead, a Facebook lead, correct?
Yes, and a lot of people quote many crazy numbers, right? 4%, 5%. Of course, you need to ask from what to what. What I am really telling you is, if you're paying $6, $7 per lead for a provider like CINC, like others will be $20, but independently of that, you should be closing over time up to 1% of that, which basically you should work back your math into, oh, I had to buy 100 leads of $6 to close one deal. That means I paid $600 for a deal. And that is very good when you're making $10,000 in commission per deal. So that's the way that I try to train my clients to think, not so much the cost per lead itself, but the cost per deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy math. $6 on average nationwide, different markets, different expenses. 100 leads, $600, 1% conversion, 600. And for me and how we work at our coaching company, we actually try and cut that in half again. We just do, because at the end of the day, if we get a client, we service them correctly, and we've got a great follow-up strategy through our CRM, is we are going to get at least one more closing. Whether that's they buy a second home, they buy an investment property, they refer us to a family friend or coworker, we're going to get that second. So realistically, when properly run, to me, it drops down to half of that, which is $300.
100%. But that's what you hit there that is so critical, is that follow-up and that accountability. A lot of systems will say, oh, my system does all of this so that you don't have to do anything. And I don't believe that to be true. And that's why, unfortunately, this is still a high-touch business where, like, we give personalized account managers because we don't think it can be automated. And we know that our clients that are having coaching are significantly more successful than the ones that don't, because outside of whatever the tech can be doing, accountability is something that the system cannot do for you. And having someone, whether it's yourself, some people are very self-sufficient where they can hold themselves accountable in that way, but someone needs to be sitting with you at the end of the week and saying, are you doing these things? And there's no system that is going to be able, because you can always shut down the system, right? But you cannot shut down the person in front of you, whether it's yourself or whether it's your coach. That's a critical part of success.
Thank you for sharing that. We're passionate about the coaching side, and
you should.
And I agree with you. It's it. You can have the best AI, the best drip campaign, the best systems on the planet, and those are critical. And those will work and run for you at 2 a.m. And they'll work and run for you when you're with your family or friends in Hawaii, and hopefully can get on that trip and put your phone down for a few days and actually enjoy and recharge your batteries. Like, that's what's phenomenal. Yet it's never going to replace that human relationship, that market knowledge, that what's happening in this neighborhood versus this neighborhood in this school district. So it's still, at the end of the day, a contact. You call it high touch, I call it a contact sport. Yeah. And if you're not contacting that group of people and staying in relationship, I don't care what the lead source is, conversion is going to go down substantially.
100%. And when we do sometimes as part of the CINC training, we bring everyone in and we do an actual power hour. I don't know how you call it, those like pizza nights, call nights, yeah. Which sometimes I believe is one of the best things that coaches many times use. There's so much power in seeing it happen, right? Because the truth is, if this was an easy job, everyone would do it. And there's a reason that only the best teams in the US are the ones that are able to do online lead generation in a successful, repeatable, scalable manner. It's not just that they are the ones that had the money to pay for CINC or to pay for coaching. It's really that those are the ones that were ready to take on a significant challenge, which is calling people not out of the blue, but with a low level of initial introduction and being able to establish that trust and turn them into clients. That requires human dedication, and it's something that it can be trained, but it can only be learned if you want to learn it. And that's the beauty of it.
And like all things, consistency is key, without
Mhm.
question. Because what is it of those 100 leads with the 1% conversion? So let's say 1,000 leads, when properly handled, should turn into what, 10 escrows?
Yes.
What percentage can we expect as agents, when properly working and following up and nurturing those leads? Out of that 10, what percentage can we expect in the first 6 to 12 months to potentially go in escrow?
So 4 of those 10 will happen in the first 6 months, right?
Awesome. Perfect.
That's yes. And then, but that still means if you don't follow up for the next year and a half or 2 years after that, you're going to lose half of your investment. So if you made an investment in leads and you only are working your first 6 months of leads and then you just drop them off into oblivion, then in general, you're leaving half the money on the table. But at the same time, by focusing, you can have immediate results. Half of that result is going to happen in those first 6 to 12 months.
Got it. So then without that lack of follow-up from 6 months to probably 36 months, your cost of sale has just doubled from 600 to 1,200.
Which someone could tell me, well, that's not terrible, right? I can have a $1,200 cost of sale and still make a good business. And that's why we do have clients that focus more on the front end, right? But I'm not comfortable with leaving half the money on the table. When I know that there's another half that I could be making on this same set of leads, why would I leave them on the table? And that actually shows you, again, people obsess, and I understand why, with cost a lot. How much am I paying for my platform? How much am I? The truth is the revenue is so much higher that like hiring an ISA, if you have the systems in place, is always a good idea, right? Paying a little bit extra, having a good admin. That's what the first thing we say when someone wants to grow before they ever hire their first buyer agent is, do you have a good admin, right? Because that admin is multiplying you a couple of times and you're not going to find a better resource than you. And so I think for us, yes, that long-term is super important. The most important thing is, are you organized? And this is a tough thing to ask oneself, so that you know what your flow is and you know how your next week is going to look at. Because if you become overwhelmed, if you or your team become overwhelmed, then the 3 years don't exist. We're talking about getting to the 6 months, right?
Absolutely. Well, and we could do an entire webinar, probably an entire day event just on that first hire. And I can't leave that hanging because I so agree with you. It's so frequently in the coaching space, right? A big pain for agents is showing home, showing home, showing home. So it's like, well, let's hire a buyer's agent and get that off our plate.
Yeah.
And my answer to them is like, let's assume that buyer's agent is madly successful. Let's assume he or she gets 2 or 3 homes in contract a month. That would be phenomenal, right? So here's my question to the team owner who's making that hire. Who's going to clean up all those messes? Who's going to hire all the contractors? Who's going to set up all the inspections? Who's going to get all the bids? Who's going to follow up with a lender? Right? Like if you hire that person before that administrative person, you're going to actually just end up like doing more administrative work than you've ever done before, if they're successful, which is of course the goal.
And we have some single agent clients that that are closing 60, 70, 80 deals a year, right? And so but the big thing is, okay, you can do that if you have a strong administrative team, right? And instead of if you are running after buyer agents and you don't have an administrative team really running you, then in the end, you're, as you're saying, just going to be cleaning messes up all the time, right?
Well, thank you. Let's switch gears to the passion I felt in New York City. You did a great webinar for your audience at CINC a few weeks ago, and there's such, I don't know if the right word is shift, there's such a focus in the market right now on referral leads. Right, you mentioned Zillow a few times. You can either pay for Zillow leads, and that's a hell of a lot more than $6 a lead, or right, and there's some good leads in there.
Yeah.
Or you can be on the Flex program if that's an option in your market. And if you qualify and you're going to give back, you're not going to pay up front, you're going to give back 35% at closing. And there's a number of great companies out there that are on this referral program, and agents are madly attracted to it because they're getting a lead that's deeper into the funnel, more likely to transact sooner, often in that 3 years, and they're giving up a tremendous amount, which is on that same $10,000 commission, they're giving back 3,500 of it versus 600 of it. And so touch on that. What are your thoughts? What do you see happening with the industry and the market with that referral model?
And I'll start by saying we also have that referral model, right? CINC has ProLink, which is people looking for an agent. We work through them, place them on you when they're already in appointment, and it's such a seamless experience. That's great. You're going to convert 1 in 5 of those, but you're going to be paying 35% of your commission. Out of 12,000, you're going to be paying $44,000, right? And then if you're splitting with your agent where it's 6 and 6, then off your 6 come this 4 and you're only making 2,000. Some agents go like, no, but I'm smart. We pay the referral first and then I split with my agent, right? But then your agent is only making $4,000 out of a $12,000 commission. Sure. And the question is, how long do you think you're going to have that agent with you? Now, they might be super excited today because they're getting deals that they wouldn't have otherwise, but it's going to take not a lot of time for those to think, oh, I can go to Referral Exchange or like to some of these services that provide this, sure. and try to get those leads myself. I see it a little bit, this maybe is a bad comparison, but it's like carbs are easy to digest and they make you feel good immediately, right? But in the long run, if your main diet is carbs, you're not in a good place, right? And I see it here as the same thing, for not so much for the agent, but for the team owner. The most important thing is how much money you make on a per deal basis, because all your fixed costs you can make up on volume. If you have large fixed costs of something, when you get bigger and you sell more, that's going to be less bothersome for you. But variable costs haunt you forever, because the more deals you make, the more that you pay, right? And so the 2 big variable costs are your splits with your agents and how much are you paying on a per sale basis. So those are the easiest ways to go broke through growth. If you have bad splits with your agents, then you're going to go broke by growing a lot, and that sucks because you are doing a lot of work yourself to make less money. So that's one. Of course, you have to have reasonable splits with your agent that allow you to be successful and do more for them. But the second one is that cost per deal. And so again, if it's tough to do it the CINC and the coaching way, right? You're going to have to call 100 leads to close 1 deal. That is hard. You need to have an ISA or an AI, or you have to have a system to follow up, and you have to have accountability on your agents. But in exchange for that, out of those $12,000, you can give 6 to your agent, and of the 6 that remain on your side, you're only going to pay $600 for that sale, and you're going to be keeping $5,400. While yeah, you can go to Zillow and maybe you're paying $300 a deal, a lead, but then you're closing 1 in 10, you're paying $3,000 per deal. So again, when you start thinking of close cost per deal, you start seeing that to equate the profit that you make in 1 Zillow deal, in 1 CINC deal, you're going to have to close 2 or 3 Zillow deals, right? And then the referral is the worst of them all in the sense of, and again, I don't want to seem to be negative on the referrals, like they're a great compliment. Eating carbs every now and again, they are easier and they make you happy, that's okay. That just cannot be the main part of your diet. If you're growing your business on deals that make you no money, that's a big problem. And some people say, well, but because I don't pay anything up front, they're free. So whether I'm making a little bit of money on the deal or a lot doesn't matter because it's free. But it's not free because it takes the time of your agents. Right. And that is your most valuable resource of all, or your own time, right? So you want to be spending that time on deals that make you money, also that make the agent money, hopefully, because if not, you'll lose them, right? But don't grow through deals that make you broke.
I love it. This was the passion. Thank you. This is what I wanted our audience to hear. This is frankly what I want the industry to hear. I am a proponent of the referral model. And I'm a fan of it when I think of agents across the street at my brokerage that we bring in that came from bartending or haircutting or Intel or Nike or wherever they came from. And we all know the stats. 9 out of 10 people that go into the industry are not in the industry by year 5. And I like to comment that's in normal market conditions. And I do not believe we're in normal market conditions the last 24 months, specifically the last 10 months.
Yeah.
And I love being able to get an agent onto the team, give them coaching, give them leads, give them accountability, and have them immediately get into production, have them immediately get some market knowledge, have them immediately understand the nuances of a lead to closing and the relationship and what happens through it. And if that is still their main source of business at 6 months, and 12 months. At 18 months, it's a
That-
problem.
That
They're-
is right.
they're doing
100%.
work. So if you're not filtering in past clients, sphere of influence, relationship, leads from CINC and other platforms that are similar, maybe not as good, but is similar, the platform, that you can get those $600 closings in rather than 3,500 to 4,500. It's a really tough way to make a living. And I love that you share the most valuable product we all have in this industry is our time.
Yes.
To your point, if you're spending your time only on leads where there's a 35% off the top and then approximately a 50-50 split with your team, there's only 100 pennies in a dollar. There's a lot of pennies going out, and your time won't allow you to go and attract those other leads.
And one of the things that, again, the teams are what has in the last 15 years dominated this industry, right? And it is for a reason, and it is that it is hard to be done. And so even today, some very smart team leaders that are a client of mine still get a little frustrated when after 5 years they lose a great agent. And I usually say, look, you got 5 great years, which if you've been doing deals where you're making money, you made a lot of money on them as much as they learned from you. But the reason it takes 5 years is because what you do is tough. The ISA, the follow-up, the systems that you're paying up front, all of that infrastructure that you're providing, they couldn't do it at a year and a half when they came from bartending to really have their own platform, right? And so it takes them 5 or 6 years, and then at some point they go like, okay, I want to be able to spread my wings, and then we can talk in a different webinar about like what can you do to keep them related with you, even with giving them some freedom. But if you turn your business into where the main valuable thing that you're providing is something that the work is being done by someone else, then you need to understand that you're less valuable as a team. And then you shouldn't get frustrated when a year later, they go like, you know what, I'm going to go directly to whoever is doing all that follow-up, that investment up front, and I'm going to work with them directly because I don't need you anymore, right? And that is my main thing. Again, I love it as you were just saying it. I agree that it's a great compliment. That's why we have it as something that is a necessary part of that diet. We just warn against making that the main area of growth that you pull on.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, your company has a division that does this. If it's your main source of business, it's a hard way to make a living in this industry. This business is hard enough to make a living in under the best circumstances. Question, right? I appreciate you shared it's hard, it's difficult, it's challenging. It is to get 100 leads and work through those. And you and I both know you don't have to call 100. There'll be a certain amount with bad numbers, a certain amount. Like you do filter that 100 down to a group each month that you're re-engaging with time after time. Yet I know I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to log into my CINC dashboard with my 20, 30 agents. I'm going to see that we have clients over and over again, looking at properties, saving properties, emailing properties to each other. Yet as an industry, why do you think it is so challenging for an agent to take the time to look at that dashboard, see that there's live activity from a human being that you're already in a relationship with, and pick up the phone or send a text? What blocks us from your view?
So first, I would say actually that I don't fully agree in the sense I've been saying it's hard and challenging, and I mean it. Like, again, there's no free lunch, but agents are doing it. Like we have over 3,000 clients where most of them are making $200,000 to $400,000 a year on the leads from the system beyond what they're making on the rest of the business, right? And that comes from a lot of their agents waking up, looking at the thing and saying, these 5 are the ones that connected yesterday. I'm going to call them first, then I'm going to go these others. And so the systems and the coaching, basically the process helps, right? And Absolutely. You need that. But once it's there, you'll have a natural process. Well, you'll bring some that within a year, they'll go out because they cannot live in that. And you'll have others that will thrive in it. And we see it all the time. When you do a call night and you put a lot of people in a room and they're actually calling the leads and they're seeing each other ring the bell, that's when it clicks for people. And so the difference between the ones that make it or not, I think is seeing it, believing it first, but then being able to see it. When we see small teams that are a little bit on their own and they don't have either a coach or either ourselves when they come to a training, a place where they see, let me put this example. I know we're a little bit, if I tell you that you're going to do 50 calls and one of them is going to be a win where you set an appointment, right? And I tell you, you may believe me, you don't, you start calling, right? And you get a no, you get 2 no's, you get 3 no's, you got 4 no's, you get 5 no's. by no number 8, you might stop believing me, and then you stop calling, and the win never happened. You come into a room with 40 other people. When you do the first call, one of them says, I got it, because out of the 41 will get it. And you're like, whoa. And then it's the second call, and another one says, I got it, and I got it, and I got it. And then by call for 8, instead of being deflated, you are pumped because you're seeing it happen and you know it's coming, right? And that's what in my mind differentiates not the losers from the winners, the ones that stick to the ones that quit, right? The ones that are on their own, they're trying it. It's not that they're less willing or that they're lazy. That has nothing to do with that. They're just trying and they don't have a proof point. I told them that it happens, but they don't see it. But if they're in a team big enough where they're seeing it happen, or they're part of a coaching team or an accountability team where they're seeing each other do it, or they come to a CINC training and they see a room where everyone is calling, those proof points, once they're in their mind and once you see it happen, not once you start closing business, it's magic, right? Because it's, oh, I can just spend more money, get more leads, and I will close more business. Why wouldn't I do this? It's just getting to that point.
It reminds me, so we have some partners here at RCC. One of them is a gentleman named Josh Cooley out of Eugene, Oregon. And Josh is the #1 agent in Eugene, all brands. He's got a phenomenal team. He's an incredible human being. And I'm really proud to have him as a friend and a business partner. And Alvaro, about 12, 13 years ago is when I first met Josh. And I purchased the KW franchise in Eugene. I went there and Josh got some time with me. I was like, this guy's awesome. And in that first meeting, he shared with me what you just described. He said, Craig, and it changed my mindset on everything. He said, Craig, I celebrate 99 no's. Mm-hmm. Like, you celebrate 99 no's? Like, tell me more, Josh. What does that mean? He goes, Craig, I celebrate 99 no's. Mathematically, if I get 100 leads from this type of lead source and I get 99 no's, by default, the next call has got to be a yes. Yeah. Over and over, time on task, I celebrate and actually track my 99 no's, because by default, the next one I'm going to have in my car and in escrow in the very near future. Yeah. It's really that simple.
It is.
And you're right. It is the coaching, the accountability, the system, the synergy, or the discipline for that individual agent to be okay and sit down and make those activities every day. And it will work just as well. And they just don't have the camaraderie that the team has, where I got one and I got one to cheer them on. Would you agree?
100%. And that's what I mean. We have great single agents that do it on their own and they power through it. And with a good admin, they succeed. It's just a lone world. And so you want proof points. You want people that are seeing what's happening, and that will make it easier for yourself.
It's amazing. And that's where we come in as a coaching company. We give that ongoing accountability, and we give that boost, and we give that hug, and we give that push when we all need it to keep it going. So if our audience, whether it's on now or the replays, you're going to be all over the internet for this. So thank you. And a half hour goes incredibly fast. If they're not a CINC client and they want to learn more about CINC or test out the product, how do they get a hold of your team? What are the next steps for them to learn about CINC?
Well, I should be better prepared for this. I think you're going to talk with Jamie and you're going to put some links for it. But what for sure is going to be is, we're going to set you up to talk to one of our sales consultants. And what I really mean this is, our sales team is not meant to push people. The last thing I want is a client that signs up and will quit within 6 months. We invest so much up front. We lose money for the first 6 months with clients because of how much training and investment we do, that we only want clients that we think are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-year clients, right? And so what I mean with that is, it's a low risk. If you want to set up a call, talk with one of our guys, get a demo. If in the end you're like, no, yes, maybe for the future, there's going to be zero push there, because the last thing we want is to push someone that doesn't need to be sold. So, but yes, they'll give you a full demo and show you how the system works.
Perfect. So what we'll do between Jamie and Bella and our team, we're going to get links of how to get your website, how to get an orientation scheduled. And likewise, anybody interested, we've got 2 products we specialize in here at RCC. We do a lot of different things, but the 2 we specialize in is conversion coaching, which is another reason I was really excited to have Alvaro on. Is these are good leads. They're not, you hear over and over from all lead sources, the leads are crap. No, they're not. No, they're not. They just need a system and they need a follow-up. There's business to be had, and we help our clients convert those at a really high level. And then we do traditional one-on-one coaching, team coaching, group coaching, to work with the bigger teams, the bigger companies on balance, consistency, growth, retention, culture, and all the things that matter. So Alvaro, it's been 32 minutes, and as promised, it was a whirlwind of action and advice and history and experience. And I can't thank you enough for your time and wisdom.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll see you in Atlanta, hopefully very soon.
Yes, I'll hold you to that.
All right, it will happen. Thank you. Bye.
Yes.